Oh, they look at me like, oh man, he bullshit. He ain't got nothing. Here I go. I got aces. Boom.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Poker Central Podcast, episode 160.
160, can you believe that, Remco?
And I will continue this intro for the rest of the time, even though it really annoys Brent Hanks. We are inside the PokerGO Studio, the Triangle Studio to be precise. I don't know what I did in order to get this privilege, but it is all happening. Brent Hanks working the phones as always.
Paul Pierce, got to get him food.
You got to text Paul Pierce.
Man's got to eat.
If Paul Pierce is on the phone, you got to respond.
Got to eat.
That's all you can do. We are extremely excited for GOAT Week on Poker After Dark. We also have a lot of news to cover here on the show, as well as the power rankings at the very end of this show. But two exciting guests, that's the highlight of this podcast. Mr. Phil Hellmuth, the one, the only, the poker brat. And then the truth on the show, Mr. Paul Pierce. For Brent.
The truth.
He's so excited.
I can't wait to see his food order.
We're gonna probably get those guys on the show shortly. However, first, we have some exciting stuff to cover, Brent, because there is a lot of stuff going on PokerGO. And you are only allowed to text Paul Pierce, not your wife. I'm just letting you know that right now. GOAT Week on Poker After Dark. If you are new to the podcast, listening or watching, please know that GOAT Week is now available on demand on PokerGO. The lineup, of course, headlined by Paul Pierce, as well as Phil Hellmuth. We got RANDALL EMMETT in the show. We got Rob Young on the show, Jennifer Tilly. Brent, Paul Pierce, for the very first time inside the PokerGO studio. We're going to have a chance to talk to him in just a few minutes.
Yes.
What did it take to get him in here?
A couple texts. I have no idea. Somehow, Paul and I have never met each other, but it's basically like we're best friends.
Wow.
Yeah, we just, we go way back, talk about collegiate basketball. He was a Kansas Jayhawk. I was a St. Bonaventure Bonnie Towel Boy. So we have a lot in common.
Yeah, of course.
We look good.
Long careers, tall boys.
Both great shape.
Oh, amazing shape.
Yeah, so we just have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And, I'm excited to see my brother from another mother.
I'm excited for this lineup. So if you guys are listening and watching to this podcast, please know that this is all available on demand because we are taping this as Poker After Dark is about to go live in just a few minutes. Brent, we have a few more things to cover here before we get to these exciting interviews.
Wonderful.
Because the Jeep High Roller of the Year race is really heating up. Sam Soverell remains in the lead.
He does.
We have the British Poker Open coming up, followed by the Poker Masters.
We do.
Let's dive into those. British Poker Open first, Brent. That's a big one and then a new one and a very fresh one.
I'm excited, man. It's the first Poker Central event across the pond, a place I've never been. I've never left this beautiful country of ours.
You never will either.
Never will. Not going to this, but I'll be watching back here in the States. In fact, Remco, I'm going to be doing a little bit of that commentary.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be on the mic, which is get the mute buttons ready. Nothing I say will be worth value. I'm obnoxious, as you all know. It'll be horrible.
I think the podcast fans are well aware.
Yeah, I'm excited, though. Seriously, this is going to be a great event, a slew of events, if you will. PLO, no limit hold'em, some short deck. We've got 100K that's in there, and we're talking pounds, Remco. That's more than the average dollar.
Exactly. And the cool thing about this series is that not only do you have the 10Ks, the 25Ks, the 50K, and then the 100K main event. Also, if you have those extremely deep pockets, you can play Super High Roller Bowl London.
Oh.
After the China event and of course many events in Las Vegas.
Ali Najad, Nick Schulman. Oh my God, bread and butter.
We have our first event in London at this level, which is really exciting.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, obviously here at Aria, we've got Javier's, we've got Herringbone, we've got Carbone, all these amazing restaurants. What do you eat over there at the Asper's Casino? A lot of fish and chips, Remco?
So I've been to London plenty of times, and it's fish and chips, which is obviously a staple, but great Indian and Middle Eastern cuisine.
How's that possible? You're in London.
London is a multicultural hub, Brent.
Really?
You wouldn't understand.
I thought it was just a bunch of white people eating fish and chips and that's it.
Couldn't be any less like that.
Okay.
So we are excited for the British Poker Open. Please, if you want to go play, it's September 2nd through the 13th. At PokerCentral.com. I'm just giving out your email address on the podcast because if you want to play...
I don't think that's a good idea.
I think it is a great idea. Also, you can find him on Twitter at bhanks11. What I want to say is that if you want to play, please reach out. What's wrong with you?
You want to give my phone number out as well?
I wouldn't mind.
How about my social security number? You want to give that out as well?
Everyone has your
Here's
number already.
my routing number, and anything else we can give out about me that's personal?
Maybe your blood type. But all the events, they are at the Asper's Casino in London, in Stratford. Please, get your hotels ready and all that other good stuff. If you're a fan of the PokerGo shows, you can watch the final table of every single one of these events, as well as multiple day coverage of the Super High Roller Bowl. And then Brent, the action comes back to Las Vegas, which is good for you because we're never going to see you leave this country.
That's right.
For the Poker Masters coming to the studio in November.
I'm juiced. Poker Masters, November 4th through the 13th. Obviously, day 2 of the 100K. The final event would be on the 14th. The streaming will begin on November 5th. Make sure you guys tune in for that. We'll be doing the break desk, all that sorts of good stuff. My favorite event, by the way, that's been added to the Poker Masters, Big Bet Mix. No limit, pot limit Omaha, and deuce to 7 no limit. I'm excited about that. We're going to get all those Bellagio regulars in the building, battling out in 3 games that I can barely spell, let alone play.
It's just so cool to see that the schedule is so jam-packed. You can play British Poker Open, World Series of Poker Europe, spend some time in Europe, and then come back to Vegas to play the Poker Masters, and then we have a lot more exciting stuff coming up in the winter as well. So honestly, this series is a can't-miss series. Like Brent already said, there is a big bet mix. There's also short deck, there's PLO. The buy-ins range from 10K up to the 100K main event. Every event is a 2-day event, so if you don't want to take too much time out of your busy schedule, you can play, one of those events if that fits into your schedule. Brent, the Jeep High Roller of the Year. I mentioned it already.
Did you say Jeep?
Jeep. I said Jeep.
As in the official sponsor of the High Roller Player of the Year is Jeep?
Correct.
God damn, Remco. We're moving up, huh?
Exactly.
I love that.
It's exciting to have a big brand like Jeep associated with the High Roller of the Year standings. And the way it looks right now, Sam Soverell might go back-to-back.
No, come on, Remco. It's early. It's August, for crying out loud. I mean, yeah, Sammy Biscuit's decent lead. He's got 1,160 points right now. Number 2, I'm going to throw that out there, Mr. Ali Amshurovich, the kid, the phenom, right on his tail, 995 points. And then I'm just going to do the top 3 here. Kerry Katz, El Jefe, 925. Remco, the British Poker Open, the Poker Masters, all these events are all going to be calculated into the High Roller Player of the Year. One of these guys is going to be the Jeep High Roller Player of the Year. My money, however, none of them.
None of them?
None of them. I'm not betting on any of them.
You think someone in the top 10 is going to do it? Or do you
yes.
Think
Current ranking number 6, my guy that's going to come in and win this thing, Sean Winter. Winter never left. Winter's not coming. Winter is here to stay. Winter is all over my face. Winter is everywhere, Remco.
It's 110 outside.
Sean Winter is going to win this whole thing.
I mean, I'm excited to see how this will play out. Stay tuned for much more of that on Poker Central as we have updated standings whenever something of note is to mention.
Yeah.
Other names in the top 10 include, of course, obviously, Stephen Chidwick, David Peters, Keith Tilston, Jake Schindler, Brandon Adams, and then rounding out the top 10, Nick Schulman.
Oh, just saying his name,
On that note, I think Brent
does it for me.
Needs a little break.
Shake
we are going to pivot into much excitement with Phil Hellmuth, so stay tuned for much more of that. And of course, if you haven't already, watch Goat Week on PokerGo. All right, we are excited now to be joined by one of the GOATs on Goat Week on Poker After Dark. Phil Hellmuth, that name alone must please you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the GOAT is kind of a fun thing. I've been getting called that for a long time, which I love. Oh my God, I'm way too cocky. But I invited Michael Phelps, the greatest of all time Olympian. I invited Steve Aoki, one of the greatest DJs of all time. I invited my friend Bill Lee, who was one of the greatest angel investors in history, and those guys were all considering coming. Oh, and let's not forget, we also invited Kevin Hart, one of the greatest comedians. So, we almost had those guys, but we do have Paul Pierce, one of the greatest of all time.
Baby.
The truth.
Oh.
You see that? I love that poster.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, it looked like you dodged that uppercut of his. That was really good.
Oh my God.
I had to explain to Remco what the Goat Week meant. He thought it was a farm animal this whole time. He didn't understand it because he's from Siberia. He grew up in,
Brent's sole purpose in life is to make me look bad, and he's doing a really good job at it. Phil, let's get to this lineup. Obviously, Paul Pierce is a legend in and of himself in the NBA, but also he has some chops at the poker table. Tell me about what you know about his game.
Yeah, I mean, I first met Paul literally 12 years ago at an event, with Michael Jordan, and it was really kind of a fun room to be in.
Speaking of GOAT.
We were in the speaking of Go, we were in the like triple VIP section with MJ and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. And props to Johnny Chan. I'm telling a good story here for you, Chan. Kevin Garnett, I was getting all the attention, right? And then, Kevin Garnett goes up to Chan and he's like, I'm playing poker because of you, Johnny Chan.
Wow.
Johnny Chan just lit up. And I was like, this is freaking cool. I'm not going to be jealous. This is great. And then I think, I saw Paul after he won the championship. I'm a fan because, I watched all of those games. That was the year that Mike Madison and I had this bet. I bet him $5,000 at 20-1 that the Celtics would make the finals. All he did was make the finals.
Wow.
And here's what had happened. 2 years ago, they'd won it, and then they'd had injuries. And so now they were way down the board as big underdogs, and they went into Orlando, which was one of the best teams, and they won the first 2 games at Orlando. It was like with Jameer Nelson, like a really tough. And I was just watching, Pierce was just clutch, man. I mean, whenever they needed a bucket, he'd just like slither in, hit a layup. He was hitting all these clutch shots. And, I laid off a little bit, but I ended up beating Mike for over $65,000.
Oh, my
And I was
God.
like, woo!
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Paul Pierce and the Celtics.
Wow.
Have you played poker against Paul? I know he's played some World Series events. He's made a run in the main event. He played a 10K PLO. He's a big fan of Omaha. Have you had a chance to battle with him?
I have not. Casey Thompson played with him the other day in Vegas in a private cash game. And Phil Locke played a lot with him. So Paul played a lot with the pros in LA and for a lot of years. So he's very experienced. I asked Jennifer Tilly if she'd played with him yet, and she said no. So I was kind of surprised because she plays in some private LA games. But this will open it up a little bit. I'll invite him to my game here September 24th and September 25th. The Masters of the Universe game,
What are we going to call that? Hellmuth's home game? Have we
Masters
decided?
of the Universe.
You like Masters of the Universe? Okay.
I mean,
It's
Hellmuth's
sounds like
home
an
game.
Avengers movie.
Hellmuth home game is whatever.
Yeah.
But in my book, I called the group that I hang out with regularly the Masters of the Universe. Because because they're really changing the world, and they've just, these are kind of the who's who in the tech world. So, but anyway, whatever, a bunch of great guys. Hopefully Paul Pierce will play in that way as well.
Amazing.
So you have all these connections. You have this long list of exciting friends to, at some point, I believe they're all going to make their way into the studio. What's the poker conversation like with these guys, with the Kevin Harts and the Bill Lees? Like, these people obviously love the game because otherwise you wouldn't even invite them in the first place.
Bill Lee's filmed with me a bunch already. Rick Thompson has filmed with me.
You played on
This
our
is-
show last year, Poker
Yep.
After Dark, yeah.
Chamath has filmed with me already.
I'm excited about that.
Jason Calcanis
Yeah.
started filming a long time ago. He's filmed with me a couple times. He's in, and so a lot of the tech masters of the universe here have already filmed with me. Now we have a new one, David Sachs committed. David Sachs started Craft Ventures. They raised about $300 million, and then they just raised $550 million for their second fund.
Yeah.
And they're really, really genius guys. And so we'll see if we can get Bill Lee into that game. David Lee is committed, the NBA All-Star.
Golden State Warriors.
Absolutely.
He retired though, right?
Yeah, married Carolyn Wozniacki. who was
What?
ranked, yeah.
Tennis
Oh
star.
my God.
That's a good-looking couple.
I didn't know that.
It's a good-looking couple.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Wow.
So the audience was
He's committed.
Holy shit. Oh, Maria Ho's playing.
Yes, and
Maria
Maria
Ho's good.
Ho.
She's in the game too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of Hellmuth's home game plus Maria.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an exciting lineup nonetheless, but let's also focus on GOAT Week a little bit. The people who are watching this podcast have already had a chance to, of course, watch the action because we are now before the action, but it's still fun to hear your thoughts on what do you think the flow is going to be like because Rob Young is in the game and this guy doesn't back down for anything or anyone.
Here's the situation. You have Rob Young, a partner at Party Poker, an amazing guy in the poker world. He's made all the changes that have helped Party Poker become a much better site. He's a genius. I know he was sitting in a game the other day with like $1 million in front of him, $2 million.
yeah.
And Alan Keating plays super high stakes too.
I'm glad you brought him up.
Casey's played. So I called these guys up and I said, listen, don't high roll me and don't high roll Paul Pierce because some of these guys would play 1,000, 2,000 blinds. And I'm like, listen, we just want everybody to feel comfortable. We'll have 100, 200 game. There'll be some straddles, sure. But, because none of these guys are afraid. It's a small game for half the lineup.
What are the odds that Rob Young, Alan Keating flip for 100,000? Just a flip.
I think they'll flip for 50. I think Casey Thompson will be right in there with them. I think there will be some big flips. No one's afraid to flip.
$50,000 each.
Oh, Alan would do it in a second.
That's insane. Oh, they're going to. I think the odds are like, I mean, oh my God, it's probably 80% that this is happening.
Well, because I talk to those guys, listen, the problem is you want everybody to feel comfortable at the table.
Yeah.
So you don't want to, but at the same time, you don't want to stop too much gambling. And so it's a very precise line there. So I told Alan, you can flip whatever you want. He's like, well, maybe I shouldn't. I don't want to high roll anybody. And I'm like, you can flip for whatever. So, if the messages get through, I guess it might sound like a mixed message, but the point is I don't want Paul Pierce to feel like he has to put $100,000 on a flip, or I don't want the stakes to get out of control for him, even though he's very wealthy. And me, too, I have a bunch of investors. On U-Stake, I have 295 people that bought a piece of me. I sold out. And so, but I'm only risking 60,000.
Oh, it's amazing.
The worst thing that could ever happen is I lose to 60 and then rebuy 20 or something and then run it way up, and everybody's like, wait, what happened? So I can't do that. I can't even consider that. So I have to play exactly 60 over 2 days. So,
Final
for
thing
me too.
that I want to get into, because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
I do know that you have some three-point shooting prowess. We've seen you sink some absolute money shots. Paul Pierce is in the building. What's going to happen? Because I feel as though this is a prop bet waiting to happen.
And you got to explain too, Remco, we have a basketball hoop on set.
It's pretty interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because for the World Series of Poker, we had a basketball hoop in the back. And I was, of the 1,000 people that shot back there, I was probably the 7th or 8th best of 1,000, right? None of the poker players, but I know the guys who could beat me, Paul Volpe. There's like 4 or 5 guys that just never miss. But I was pretty good, but I'm nowhere near Paul Pierce's. So one prop that that is maybe he spots me 3 free throws and we go for 5,000. I think he's going to try to spot me 1.5 or 2. I'm happy to do it at 3. So we'll see if this prop bet happens, but for sure we'll be doing something fun, and I might do something fun, like I might say I bet Casey can't make 3 and 10 for 5,000.
That's fun.
I just want to see how funny it looks when he shoots it. And same thing with Rob Young, and some of these guys will shock me if they're athletes.
Randall EMMETT shooting a
Randall
basketball.
Emmett, oh my God, it's going to be so ugly. And then Jennifer Tilly, I'd like to see her try to throw one up.
It's going to be exciting nonetheless. Goat Week on Poker After Dark. You guys stay tuned for much more. We got Paul Pierce coming up. It's going to be one hell of a show. And if you're watching the podcast, I'll say it once again, Goat Week is now available on demand on PokerGO. So stay tuned for much more. All right, we are excited now to be joined by the truth, Mr. Paul Pierce himself here for Goat Week on Poker After Dark. We are super excited to have you here. First and foremost, welcome to the studio, and what's your excitement level at to face all these guys here, and of course Jennifer Tilly.
I'm excited when I saw the title Goat Week. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm one of the greatest. Okay, and what? No, I'm super excited. I have a passion for poker, and I play quite a bit. And so, to be out here with guys like the legendary Phil Hellmuth, of course, Jennifer Tilly, I've played with her before. So it's going to be a lot of fun today.
You've made some runs in the main event. We've seen you in the 10K PLO.
Mm-hmm.
What's the game been like? Have you been sharp lately? Have you had a chance to play a lot?
I've played a few times, within the last month. But, tournament is different than cash game. Let's just set that straight. Tournament, you got to be prepared for long hours. Cash game, it's a little bit different based on your opponents, their aggressiveness, and, depending on how you want to play it. So it's a little bit different.
And then, of course, this is going to be a cash game. There's going to be some splashing around. Rob Young loves to tangle. Casey Thompson loves to tangle. Are you ready to face these guys?
I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, but, but this is the thing. When I played ball, I was nervous before every game. But that didn't mean I wasn't going to play well. It's just, I think it's just a build up to it. Then once I stepped out there, it was just like, oh man, I'm ready. So I feel like that's the same thing coming into this. I'm a little nervous, but once I step out on the field, once I sit at the table, I think I'll be all right.
Speaking of playing ball, I'm looking at the tattoo on the arm, the truth.
The truth.
I got to go with this quote, man, from Shaq. and I got another question about Shaq after that, but the quote is, Remco, and everyone's got to know this. Take this down, said O'Neal. My name is Shaquille O'Neal, and Paul Pierce is the motherfucking truth. Quote me on that. Don't leave anything out. I knew he could play, but I didn't know he could play like this. Paul Pierce is the truth. When did he say that? Can you walk us through that moment in your life and your career?
That was like my 3rd year in the league. And, you know, I was beginning to make a name for myself. You know, I was having some big games. But, you know, this is the defending champ Lakers. And when you go into the Staples in Los Angeles, which is where I'm from, and then, you know, I had a huge game. And so, like, you know, I think I dropped about like 42 points, 40-something, around that point.
42 is accurate.
42 points. And, you know, these the champs, and then, you know, I'm playing against Kobe, so he getting a little bit of it. And then so when Shaq say it, the big man, when he say it, it means something. So from that point on, it was just like, whoa, Shaq said that. So it was a big headline in the paper, like, Paul Pierce is the boop, 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 truth. And it was like, ever since then, it stuck with me. And so now it was just like, okay, I got to live up to this. You know, big man gave me the title. So every time I went out there, I had to live up to it. And hopefully I did. I think I did a good job doing it.
Yeah, I would say so.
I got a question about that because obviously when you're coming into the league, you know, you're watching Shaq on TV. Like he was ahead of you. Obviously
Right.
you look up to that guy. Then he drops that on you, and that relationship keeps developing. You know, you
Yes.
become an all-star. You know, you win a championship, and now of course you guys are both, you know,
That's
analysts
my
on
boy.
TV.
That's
so
my boy.
how does that relationship develop, and what's that like for you to have an idol basically turn into a peer?
I mean, I mean, when you come into the NBA, it's like a brotherhood, just like anything, like in the world of poker, you know, everybody knows each other. They see each other all the time. It's like, even if you just saw a person on TV, you don't really know them. When you see them in person, it's like you feel like you know them. And so that's what the NBA was all about. So, you know, having the opportunity to spend time with Shaq off the court, you know, just develop our relationship. He gave me the name, and, you know, we're good friends to this day. As a matter of fact, I was with him a week ago out in Los Angeles hanging out, chopping it up. And, you know, it's just a brotherhood that's formed for life, you know. So, you know, I shout out to the Big Diesel, one of the greatest, most dominant player of all time. You know, hey, what can I say?
Speaking of the Big Diesel, I mean, I got to ask you this. He's out there now. He's a DJ, and he's out there spinning, and he's at festivals, and he's doing this stuff. He's headlining. Have you been to a show yet?
No, I haven't been to a show yet, but you know, I keep up with him on Instagram.
Yeah.
From what I see, he got the crowd rocking. I'm thinking like, man, shoot, should I get into this DJ game? Then it just came out the other day online. I saw what the DJs were making. I was like, they doing better than a lot of NBA players.
You already got the name for it,
I seen Marshmello making like 60 million a year. Like, hold on, maybe I should start practicing my DJ in post-retirement from basketball. That don't require me, you know, bumping knees or spraining no ankles. I could just sit up there and get the crowd going. I'm gonna have to try it out.
I mean, another way to have a bit of a side hustle going is obviously the game of cards, the game of poker, which is beautiful as well. I want to go back to your playing days a little bit, and I know this from good sources that you said that, you know, Jason Collins was sort of like the best player on the team, and you said KG might not have had as much poker game. But go back to me, you know, those plane rides with those guys. What was that like?
Oh, those were good times, man, because that was just like kind of our way of kind of like bonding. You know, we had our time on the court and times where we were in the locker room, but like when we travel so much, so we're on the plane, we're on the bus, we're around each other so much. So it's just like, man, we got a table on the plane. We'd be like, man, let's play some cards, let's play some poker. You know, we sit at the table, and this is our way of just kind of like our gathering. We talking about last night. We talking about the game. We talking about, hey, you know, where did y'all go last night? Yeah, we went to this club, or we did this, or I went out to dinner with wifey, or this. You know, this is their chance to catch up at the table while we got these long flights across country. So that was a way of just like bonding. And so we play a lot of poker. It was friendly games though. It didn't get out of hand.
No one got hurt.
No blood drawn. So, but it was a lot of good friendly games. You know, Kevin, Rondo, Perkins, Jason Collins. Like I said, he's good, by the way, when he got on the team. But that was just our way of really bonding, and we enjoyed it.
When you're at the poker table, obviously people see Paul Pierce, the NBA player. They might underestimate you when you sit down in a poker game. What's it like for you to know that everybody already knows you at the table? Can you find a way to, you know, get the most out of them because they might underestimate you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you see a guy like me who's in the limelight, who's a professional athlete, you know, you look at me a different way. So you're like, he probably don't know too much about the game, don't know what he's doing. And so that way I can sometimes use my reputation as a player and a casual poker player to like bait them in so they don't take me seriously. So sometimes I can make good money off of them by putting in big bets like, oh, let me go ahead and just praise this. Oh, they look at me like, oh man, he bullshit. He ain't got nothing. Here I go, I got aces, boom, and get paid off that way. So it has its advantages, but most of the time I'm probably on the other end of that.
One of the things that I love as a parallel between professional sports and high-level poker is the personalities. You and Mustafa Kenny had a great back and forth.
He was awesome.
Do you see, the highest level poker players sort of have those personalities like you also see in sports?
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes the game so fun. Sometimes I don't really like sitting at tables where it's too all serious and everybody's just like headphones on, glasses, hoodie, just looking. The poker originated by guys getting together, talking, catching up, having a cigar, this and that. You can't do that in the casino now, but in the home, this is your way of building camaraderie with your friends or even maybe some family members. It's a social game to me. It's not a game where you just sit there and it's all serious. This is social, and so that's the way I look at it. And then you can kind of see where personalities come out. And it's just like sports. You could get at a table and you see people like you said, Mustafa, you get people from all over the world, different nationalities that come together and having a conversation at one table. And so, in that way it brings people together.
Yeah, I love that about the game.
How about, you talked about, socializing. Another NBA guy, former coach, how about Don Nelson? Have you seen this, what he's doing down in Hawaii? He's got a home game, and he's playing with Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
And Don Nelson and Willie Nelson, they're just down there growing a bunch of weed and playing poker, having cigars. I think HBO did a special on this. Yeah.
Oh.
If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out.
I haven't seen that. That could become a cultural thing, too, to where they can be like, look, they can make that kind of like an event, like like a tourist spot. Like, hey, come play home game with Don Nelson, Willie Nelson. This is an entry. You got to pay a certain amount just to be able to get into the house.
Yeah.
And make it like a tourist destination.
They got some other stuff going on there.
You can puff a J with them.
Yeah.
You can play some poker with them.
Right.
And it could just be a whole experience.
That's the experience that I want. I mean, obviously we got Paul Pierce here. It's like, man, I want to go down to Don Nelson's place and just hang out with Willie, ride a horse or something.
I just love the idea of this.
Yeah,
Right.
Never been on a horse in my life.
If you would have told me this, I would have said, I don't believe this. But the fact
all
that
true. It's on HBO. I watched it. I couldn't
would like
believe
to
it.
see that. I didn't know. I
I
have
couldn't
to check
believe it.
this
Yeah,
out.
you wouldn't even believe it's the same guy.
It's almost like
incredible.
in its own way, like a mental spa.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? They could create that.
For sure. Another Boston legend, Richard Seymour, Big Say.
That's my boy.
I tried to get him to play this game.
I mean, he of course really is trying to grind out there. He made a big run in the main event. He was on Rich Eisen's show. Are you staying in touch with him? Is he giving you some pointers?
Yeah, we talk from time to time. I have to get his number again. I saw him. I think he was in the Bahamas, right? Yeah, when we played. Yeah, I saw him in the Bahamas. He's always making a good run. He's pretty good too. Me and Richard over the times we've seen each other many times in the poker room, especially in the main event. I saw him a couple times, and then in Bahamas. So. Shout out to Rich. He's doing his thing. He cashed in the main event.
He did?
Yeah, I saw that, man.
He made a hell of a run, man. He was on ESPN multiple days. He got his RV parked out back there to the World Series. He was living out here.
He was locked in. He was locked in, and he's getting coaching and everything. He's really serious about this.
He's serious. He's
exactly.
serious.
One of my personal stories that I just wanted to bring up here on the show is that I lived in Toronto for a while, and the first ever Raptors game that I watched was Game 7 against the Nets.
Oh, man.
You blocked Lowry. You had the whole crowd against you. What is it between you and Toronto for all those years? Because it's been fascinating to follow. I love you as a personality, but when you were on the court, I was like, my God, get this guy out of here.
You know what? I've always been kind of like the villain type anyway. Because, playing for Boston, nobody really liked Boston. And then, for me as a kid, I grew up in Los Angeles. I was a Laker fan, hated Boston. So they're kind of like that team nobody really likes throughout beginning of the Boston Celtics history, because they were a team that started off winning all the championships. And when you become a winner, it's like people get tired of it. And so it's like they have that history. So I became a player that people really didn't like. And then, on the side of it, I trash talk. And so they really don't like that part. And so when I go to Toronto, I say some things before the series start, like they don't have it. I don't know. They don't have the guys that can beat us. And it came true. We win the Game 7 and we blocked it, and then I'm taunting the crowd. And so now every time I go, even as an analyst, they still boo me. But, that's the role that I embrace as a villain. And that's the one I thrived in my whole career, and it's, you know, it's made me successful.
You're saying the NBA is a brotherhood. Does that also mean that, you know, you have, you know, good rapport with guys like Lowry and DeRozan and Kawhi? Because obviously, you know, those are guys you faced on the court, but I mean off the court. Is it possible to be friends with guys?
Absolutely. I mean, if I see those guys right now, run into them, it'll be like all love, like, boom, hug, like, man, congratulations. Y'all my little brothers. Boom. Just like that, easy.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So for any Raptors fans watching, know that, you know, we never have to face Paul Pierce again, but at least we know that he's good friends.
But
with
look, I picked the Raptors this year to win.
I was scared when you did that.
I know, because before they was like, he's a jinx. Every time somebody picks somebody, they're going to lose. But I really felt like, look, the Raptors are going. I seen their run from the first round, second round, and they were on the roll. And the way Kawhi was playing, I was like, they're going to beat the Golden State Warriors, and they did.
This season is going to be super exciting. Maybe the most exciting NBA season, perhaps, since you retired.
Because a long time.
We got a lot of action in LA. The Kawhi moves, and Paul George is now in the Clippers.
Yes.
Give me like your short take on how you think the season will play out, because the Warriors are missing so many guys. There's been so many shakeups in Houston as well.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it was very predictable over the last 5-6 years. You were like, okay, it's going to be Golden State Warriors and LeBron in the finals, except for this year. But we knew with the previous years, it was just like, oh, we're getting tired of this story. It's like we know, it's like we saw this movie again and we know what the ending is going to be. Come fast forward this year, it's like, whole new movie, whole new set of characters. What's going to happen? Now people are excited for it. You know what I'm saying? When you watch a movie over and over, you know what's going to happen. Like now we're like, what's going to happen? You got Kawhi went on the move. Westbrook went to Houston. You know, you had Durant go to the Nets, even though he's going to be out this year. Kyrie to the Nets. AD to the Lakers. There's just so many little subplots and just so many different things that can happen. And then you got up-and-coming teams like the Denver Nuggets, who are really good. Portland Trailblazers, Utah Jazz. You better watch out for young Donovan Mitchell. It's just so many things that can happen. And then injuries are a factor. We saw that this year with Durant going down, so anything can happen. So whoever's the favorite today may not be the favorite tomorrow.
Who's your favorite going in, and who's your sleeper? Give us one.
All right, listen. My favorite, and this is going to shock y'all.
Okay.
Because, you know, I know that the popular pick is going to be Lakers
All right.
or Clippers, but I'm telling you, watch out. I think the Denver Nuggets are going to be in the finals.
Nugs.
Jamal Murray.
Okay.
I think the Denver Nuggets are going to be in the finals.
All right.
Out of the Western Conference.
And the Bucks out of the East?
Bucks out of the East.
My Bucks. I'm a Bucks guy now.
I
wow.
think the
Big Bucks
Bucks
guy.
will win it this year.
Bucks.
I think
All right.
the Bucks are going to win it.
You heard it here first.
There it is.
NBA season is just still a month and a half away. We got the Bucks Nuggets in the finals. Paul Pierce playing on Goat Week on Poker After Dark. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. You guys stay tuned for much more, and please don't forget to watch Goat Week on PokerGo. Hello, everybody listening and watching the podcast this week. We have a special addition to the show as Alan Keating joined the show as well. He played some massive, massive pots, including doubling up Rob Young in the biggest pot of the night and arguably the biggest pot on PokerGo in 2019. And then also, he ended up reloading for $1 million, and that all happened after we taped this interview with him. And we still wanted to include this into the podcast, even though we previously did not set out to have this on the show. So go watch this segment right now with Alan Keating as you get a chance to get to know him and hear all about the big hands he played on day one. All right, and welcome back to the show. We have Alan Keating with us here in the studio right now as Goat Week on Poker After Dark is still going on. Last night was my first ever experience seeing you play, and I think the same can be said for almost everyone that was watching. You put on one heck of a performance. At the start of the night, I was thinking, oh my God, this might get really nasty. You lost a big one right off the bat. But then you went on a massive heater, and then all of a sudden in the last hour, the wheels came off a little bit before Hellmuth sort of saved the day for you.
Yeah.
That is sort of my best my best way of summarizing this game in a brief sort of way. How do you look back on the night?
You pretty much nailed it. I walked in pretty nervous. Like you said, it's the first time seeing me. It's my first time really being out there. So, there's a lot of thought of what are people going to think about me, this and that. And my whole focus was going into it was just be myself and, have fun playing like I always do. And, I probably play a few more hands than most people because it's kind of frustrating not playing a hand. But
Let me focus on hand number 1. King Jack off. There's a raise in front of you by Randall with 9-4 suited or some garbage, and you just look down at King Jack off in 20,000, and you rip it, just all in. All in. What's that all about?
I just thought there was like a $3,000 out there, and what I heard about Randall is he's just out of his mind and down for a gamble. So I thought he might even call me with worse.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even like, and the small chance that Paul picks up something actually came in. So
Right.
I was a little surprised by that. It's kind of funny to experience, but then you got to kind of like keep playing your game after.
I mean, it was funny too because Jennifer Tilly told me before the game started that she was so excited to play with you because she felt as though, and you guys have some history, that you basically never go to showdown. I mean, that's definitely a skill in and of itself.
Yeah.
Was that also for you sort of the kind of extra dimension yesterday, playing on TV and having people sort of see your cards?
Yeah, I'm never like secretive. You play with me, like I'll share my hands, but I'm pretty unorthodox. I'm kind of not really playing a fundamentally sound game. I'll admit. I just kind of treat each hand like it's like a puzzle, and there's going to be like a fun way to play it, and that's going to like be valuable to me, and that I'm going to have fun. And there might be like a cool way to like backdoor some way to win a hand that you have no excuse for winning.
Speaking of which, Jennifer Tilly in a hand you should never win. The Jack 4 offsuit hand, you cracked her aces. Did you feel bad about that?
I mean, you always feel bad when you crack someone's hand that like you care about. We're friends.
Yeah.
But
That's
at
true,
at the same time, like we're at the poker table, so it's like we both know what we're getting into.
Yeah.
And like if I don't hit the non-heart 4, I'm calling all the way down, and maybe even getting creative. Yeah. So there's like 9 out of 10 ways to that hand plays out, and she wins most all of them. And to think that she would fold that hand is like a testament to her read, because she saw me as liking the flop, and so like raising the turn, it doesn't really make much sense that someone would have a hand that made itself on the turn.
Oh my God, I'm
that
stacking
wasn't on
off
the
with
flop.
aces every time to you.
100%. So it's a testament to her read on that spot. So she's kind of got me down on that one. But.
When you're playing 100, 200, and you find yourself sitting on 1,600 big blinds at one point, is that the point in time where you're like, oh my God, I hope the rest of the people are having fun, because you were basically winning every hand for like a 3-hour stretch. And I know, of course, you like these people and everybody wants to have a good time, but every single chip was going in your direction. Is there any sense of feeling bad, or is that just poker?
I mean, for me, it's like there is a community aspect. You're at the table. I'm not counting every dollar. I'm having fun. So, if you're running ahead, I think it's like on you to give more and more action as things go that way. And I just don't have a lock it up in me. I'm just not interested in it. So yeah, it played out like you said. I just bled almost all of these. Big number of profits.
Up 250,000, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, she's up 20K.
Yeah.
Like what just happened?
You were texting me at one point.
Yeah.
You were saying like everyone's winning, and I was like, where's all this money coming from? Like,
well, Alan did this and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a fun moment to see as well at the end of the show, where you and Hellmuth obviously had some ongoing history. There was some chirping back and forth.
Yeah.
And then there was this, was it back-to-back? There was a sequence of hands at the end that basically you doubled him up, and then he gave it all to you, and then he went on Twitter saying he should have folded the ace-5 suited pre-flop. Obviously, we can run in many directions with those two hands, but what's sort of the sentiment between you and Hellmuth there?
Well, you talked about, if you feel bad with a friend at the table. If I stack Phil, I feel great. And that's just like a personal thing between us two. I told him, it's like the most painful person to double up, but the funnest person to stack. And so when I doubled him up with the ace-9, the second to the last hand, I was like, okay, you got one last hand to get Phil.
So you targeted him. You wanted to get after Hellmuth.
I re-raised the king deuce. I wasn't trying to take it down pre-flop. I was just trying to make a big pot. I was betting the flop because obvious, just why not?
Yeah.
And then you rip the king, and you're in that spot where you're probably good, but you also don't want to make the same mistake you made last time, where you now double them up with the money that you just gave them too, But
You seem to have a lot of fun with Phil yesterday, trying to get under his skin a little bit, some jabs, a little comment here.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
last hand of the night obviously sent him into orbit. You put him to the test with King Deuce off earlier in the night when he had pocket nines, and he tanked forever with 2 nines.
Yeah.
Is there a plan there? Are you trying to maybe send Phil into orbit?
The plan in that, I got to say, if you know me, the pocket nines is like a snap call. And I think that's what Rob was hinting at, is like, how could you take that long with pocket nines when it doesn't make sense for me to have anything?
Yeah.
But, you know, and I know that, and I know it's probably not the best play, but it just felt like it would be really funny to like stick it to Phil in that spot.
Yeah.
And you can always hit a king or a deuce or 2 deuces.
Yeah, or trips. Yeah.
So, you know, I just didn't think he had like a, you know, a super great hand, and he wasn't going to call with, you know, a lot of his hands. So
Is it safe to assume that we're going to leave it to you and maybe Randall to try and tilt Phil at the table? Can that be done? Will you do that for us?
I feel like it's a public service at this point. Like, he's genuinely asking for it with his play and his behavior, and you know, we'll try to inject some
behavior.
justice.
Did he get out of line yesterday?
No, I guess it's not like he's out of line. He's never out of line. He's a total gentleman, and you know, we're friends outside of this.
Right.
But our styles clash because I want to play every hand, and he wants to have the best hand. And so if I'm playing every hand and calling raises, and you know, there was some hands that I probably shouldn't have called. There was like 7,000 with the 4 deuce offsuit or whatever. Looking back, that was just like not smart. But like, you know, but if you got a tighter player that like re-raises it in there, I just feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And you know, so there's like a rub between the playing styles.
Oh, I'm excited. I have this weird. I mean, Hellmuth is going to explode today.
For sure.
I'm feeling
100%.
it. Like it's going to happen. It's inevitable in my mind. We got
he
Rob.
He was losing across the board yesterday.
Yes.
Till he
Yeah.
hit the basket. Paul Pierce got him for a few thousand.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gets felted on the last hand.
Yeah,
So
classic Hellmuth blow up.
we're ready
is,
for
is
today.
Primed.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then you add Tom Dwan to the mix today.
Who he already has a bit of a
bit?
television history, bad history with.
Phil Hellmuth said, "You're not going to be around in 5 years." kid."
Right. We'll talk about this with Dwan.
Back in 2008.
That's a big statement.
Big statement.
Yeah.
Do you have history with Dwan?
None at all. So we've never played poker together ever.
That's kind of surprising, actually. Like you guys both play high stakes. I mean, crossing paths should not be that hard.
We live on the other side of the planet, though.
Yeah.
So we're in different communities, and but the legend of Dwan, you know, Tom Dwan Durr is like not alien to me. You know, even 10 years ago, he was considered the best player ever. And you know, even when he turned 21, everyone was like, "Oh, Tom's gonna come to the World Series, he's gonna win 10 bracelets," and you know, all this stuff. So there's this mystique about him and like a danger element. But I'm going into it the same way I do everyone, is that everyone has 2 cards, and I'm not really like. I prefer to be like an aggressor than a counterpuncher. So we could definitely.
Collide, yeah.
Yeah.
I was ready for it yesterday,
For sure.
man. With Rob Young having at one point 400,000 on the table, you've got essentially the same thing. I was ready for an 800K pot.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that it was happening.
He and I both are very willing.
Yeah.
so that was certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
And we both wanted it too. So all the ingredients are there.
I want it. The fans want it.
Yeah.
I think today might be the time, especially with Dwan. What's he going to sit down with? $250,000?
I don't imagine that he'll be overshadowed in any capacity. So
I mean,
we could have a 20K buy-in game where you have people sitting with $500,000.
Wow.
there were like 2 games going on last night, basically. Like you were battling everyone, and then everybody was sort of playing amongst themselves as well. Paul Pierce, and we haven't even brought him up yet, aside from, of course, the first hand you played. When you play with Paul Pierce or someone like that, and I'm sure you've played with many of the sort of A-listers across various talents, Hollywood or athletes, what's it like playing with people who excel at their profession and then they try to sort of, you know, battle you at what you're good at? Because clearly they're just there to have fun, but at the same time they have deep pockets, so they can put you under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like guys like Paul Pierce. I mean, I don't know how much discipline and work it took to get to that spot, but you know, it's more than it took for me, I'm sure, you know, wherever I am. And so, you know, someone that's that driven or even like talented is going to apply it to whatever they're interested in. So people can, anyone can really ascend in the game if they want to. So I've seen some incredibly talented, famous people or athletes ascend in their game and become really dangerous. And I certainly don't put that beyond Paul in any capacity. When he re-raised all in with the sevens, that was a great move. He was risking his whole stack. It's just pocket sevens, but he squeezed and picked up some money, and everyone folded. It was like great.
We're talking about A-list celebrities, folks that you've played with. Clearly, these are some high-stakes games. I'm going to ask you for. I don't want any names. I don't want any of this
You
stuff.
do want the names, but
I do, but I know better than to ask that to you because you're not going to give them to me. Yeah. However, I want a number. What is the don't tell me where, but what's the largest pot you have ever seen play out? How much money have you seen somebody win in one single hand?
Probably 3.4 million.
3.4 million.
Yeah,
Wow.
pot, yeah.
And that's not Hong Kong dollars. We're talking U.S. currency.
USD.
U.S. currency.
Holy shit.
Yeah. When you got a lot of personalities that are all of the same ilk, there's one kind of game where you're tossing chips and having fun, and then there's another kind of game that comes when the egos get involved in big stacks. So like you said, sometimes there's two games going, sometimes one game going.
What's it like to be sort of the glue guy, for the lack of a better word, between all these types of egos and personalities that just want to fire and have action, whenever they want? Because that's the thing with like wealthy people, they want it when they want it, and there's like sort of no getting around that. So how do you sort of manage all of that in sort of your own play?
Maybe not in my play, but like just communicating with people and shooting them straight on what you're seeing, what you're feeling. Like it doesn't matter if it's celebrity or even if it's poker. I just think like the communication skills is the difference between navigating like difficult times or times when emotions are tough and maintaining relationships or growing relationships.
Yeah, it's very intriguing to sort of see guys show up here in the studio that are willing to battle, like Paul Pierce. And I think, Brent, also, we've talked about this, this hopefully sets a precedent for these guys to feel comfortable to come in here and to battle. Looking forward into the future, now doing this, you're sitting down with us, you're playing on Poker After Dark. Is Alan Keating now part of the rotation? Are you, excited to play more in televised games?
I had a great experience, and I would recommend it to anyone. Just try it once, type deal, and see how you feel. And the feedback that I got was just 100% positive.
Sweet.
People,
awesome.
People, that I friends with that aren't in town.
Yeah.
Friends that play different games that I can't engage with in the same way, got to feel involved. And a big part of coming on here was kind of being vulnerable to that and trying to engage with family at home. And
I love that. It gives
whole
your
thing.
family an opportunity to perhaps see you for the first time.
Yeah.
You've kind of been,
Yeah,
been under the
that's a big
radar,
part of
hiding
it.
there a little bit, but now here you are, right here on one of the best shows of all time.
I had just spent almost a month straight in Michigan, and I was, with my whole family, and I called them, beforehand, let them know what I was doing, help them get the subscription set up, and my mom was watching with my aunts, and
Oh, sweet.
My dad was watching, my brother was watching.
That's so cool.
My stepdad. It's been like an avalanche of support. So your question was, do I see myself coming on here again? I absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we want in Remco.
Now that we're on this topic, and I'm kind of curious too, because when you're a tournament player, you win a few trophies, and everybody at home understands like, oh yeah, he's winning at something. But when you're a cash game player, that's obviously very different. Is that part of you showing like, look, I am doing really well at my career path?
Maybe that's not as much of it to me. I don't want any recognition. I don't even know how well I'm doing sometimes because it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But it just goes back to the support thing. I'm just thankful for that. Yeah.
Well, we love having you on here. Thank you so much. You're going to get a lot more support out there. We got Tom Dwan coming.
Oh my God.
Kidding me? Tangled with him the first time. Thanks for doing this. Good luck out there.
Absolutely. Alan Keating, Brent Hanks, you guys stay tuned for much more of GOAT Week on Poker After Dark. All right, and now for the closing segment of the podcast. Obviously, we promised the power rankings. They are in the upcoming segment, but I just want to let everyone know, both listening and watching, that the rankings have changed since we recorded this segment. However, we felt as though it was good to leave them in as is, but I just wanted to let everyone know to check out PokerCentral.com for the article with the updated rankings after the second night of play of GOAT Week on Poker After Dark, as Rob Young, Tom Dwan, and Alan Keating made so many waves on the show that we felt as though we needed to include them at the top of the rankings. So please enjoy the upcoming segment with the power rankings as we thought they were going to play out, and then also check out PokerCentral.com for the article with the updated rankings, and of course a sincere apology for missing out on having these superstars at the top. Brent, I still cannot believe that we had these two superstars on the podcast, and I can only imagine that they also made their way into the power rankings, which you always call the most influential, the most important list in all of poker.
I think they're the only rankings that matter, Remco. It's the only rankings that I pay attention to, even though we covered, of course, the GPI, even though we covered the High Roller Player of the Year. But Remco, it's these rankings that I give a shit about.
I love that you care so much.
Yeah.
And last week with Anthony Alberto, if you missed that episode, it's on PokerGo. Last week, I spoiled the number one. I'm not going to do that this week.
Where are we going to start, at 10?
I'm going to let you take it from 10.
Yeah.
Let's warm us up to that climax at the end.
All right, number 10, the one and only Jennifer Tilly.
Oh,
made her way, of course, back on Poker After Dark, put on a hell of a performance, as always. What a spirit, what an energy. I love it every time she plays. Jennifer Tilly, would only make sense to have her in there, number 10. Number 9, Squid, baby, Sam Grafton. I think he only got 6th place out there. What was it, the 100K, then Party Poker Millions?
It was the main event Millions Rosvedov.
Main event Millions Rosvedov. Just rolls right off the tongue. Yeah, 6th place, but I mean, goddamn. Is there anyone more entertaining than Sam Grafton when he's at a final table, or just cameras are on and rolling?
He dominated that event and the live streams with commentary by Jeff Platt and Jamie Kerstetter for many days, and I had him pegged for the win. He did not get it in the end, but still, he made the top 10 of the list.
Love Grafton. Speaking of entertainment, number 8, Randall Emmett. I mean, the mouth. The guy wasn't even supposed to play. He is the modern-day Mike Mattisau. Randall Emmett comes in at number 8.
Hold on, before
amazing.
You can't gloss over this.
Right.
Brent Hanks is now a Hollywood celebrity. You are now on the in with Hollywood. Lala Kent personally.
Okay, let's take a look at this. We've got a video of this
yes,
too,
yes,
right?
we
Okay,
do.
we'll play it. Take a look at this. Amazing stuff. Lala Kent.
So, as you guys know, Rand has this hobby called poker. And I'm into it. I'm like, do you, boo? And he plays on this show called Poker After Dark on Poker Central. And I'm looking at the lineup for next week on Tuesday. And I see like all of these poker players that I've become really good friends with because Rand plays with them so often. And then I'm wondering, like, why are you not playing in this lineup on Tuesday? So Poker Central, I would love to know why Randall is not in the lineup. Could you shed some light on that for me? Shed some light on why he's not going to be there.
That was a direct shot. Did you see my name on there?
I know.
Abby Hanks Go. She's talking to me, Remco.
I couldn't believe it.
She's talking to me. Yeah, so Randall Emmett in there at number 8. He was really butthurt that he wasn't involved. I mean, not as upset as Lala. And so here he is. He came back out here, played on Poker After Dark. How about the fact that he didn't talk for 30 minutes?
I mean,
what?
We're going to have to check the tape on that because I do not believe it.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Let's really make sure that happened. But 30 minutes, no talking, Randall Emmett. I mean, he dialed. I said, Randall, you're the biggest villain right now in all of poker. Everyone hates you because you don't shut up. You're always trying to force this sort of show. You know, people are running their mouths on social. He doesn't even have Twitter, so he can't read it. And, you know, he's got all 300,000 Instagram real people, real fans. But the poker world hates him. So he said, fine. I won't talk for 30 minutes, and instead of being 1 through 10, instead of being an 11, I'm going to be at a 5.
Wow.
And he did it.
We're almost at
He did it, yeah.
We're almost at number 5 in the rankings as well,
Yeah,
Brent.
number 7, the truth, baby.
I mean,
Paul Pierce. I mean, frankly, 7, I think, is a bit, that's bullshit. I think Paul Pierce should be number 1, Remco. I'm going to have to talk to the committee about this. A little too low. How often are we going to get an NBA Finals MVP to play on Poker After Dark? I mean, are you kidding me? Number 7, Paul Pierce?
I mean, it's just amazing that athletes love the game of poker enough to come play here on the show.
Yeah.
I applaud every single person who's not a professional who wants to play with these boys. And I think that, given this
He
experience,
can play ball too. Paul Pierce is good.
for sure, we're going to see much more of him. And he lost Paul at Omaha, so maybe the next time you have Omaha, we can get him in here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Moving on, number 6, my guy, Sean Winter. You're going to see him win that Jeep High Roller Player of the Year. Sean Winter, number 6, been killing it down in Florida. He's still hanging on to this top 10 rankings. Moving on up, number 5, Chitty Bang Bang, Stephen Chidwick. This guy's always ranked in the top 10 every single week.
As it should be.
As it should be. He's the best player in the world, right?
For sure.
No one's going to tell you he's not.
Exactly.
So here we are. Yeah. Number 4, Mr. Hair himself, Jason Mercier. My God, those locks of love. That beard, Wilson.
I'm worried.
Talking to a volleyball?
I'm worried, though, because I think that we saw the return of Jason Mercier to the power rankings with that big win in the 50K down in Florida.
Yeah.
He has a second kid on the way.
Yeah.
We might be another year away from ever seeing him again.
We might, and he will then again be ranked in the top 10 in the power rankings. Meanwhile, he's number 4. Number 3, love this guy, Rob Young, partner with Party Poker, doing big things. We saw what they did over there as partners with the Triton event. We just saw the millions. Of course, we mentioned Sam Grafton. He's here on Poker After Dark. Rob Young, man, getting it done. He didn't even have a Twitter account like 2 weeks ago. Now he's got 20,000 followers. He's doing giveaways, handing out money here and there. Super entertaining. Guy loves to gamble. Gotta love Rob Young in there at the top 3.
And a cool thing I want to mention about Rob Young and the promotion that Party Poker has been running, and obviously if you're watching this, you're a little bit too late, but this is so cool that I want to mention it. If you've played every single one of the Millions events this year, you get a free entry into the 10K Millions event in Nottingham, which is Rob Young's casino at Dusk Till Dawn in the winter. So that is one of those things that, probably should be talked about a lot more.
He owns the casino?
That's his casino.
Jesus, man, this guy's a king. Wow, Rob Young. I mean, hey, again, last week I wanted Stephen Chidwick to adopt me. The hell with that. I want to be a part of the Young family.
I know.
Holy
agree.
shit. Anyway, number 2. Can you believe this, Remco? BRYN KENNEY knocked down to number 2
we might have
in the
riots.
power rankings. I mean, this is a little controversial. As part of the committee, I did not have him at 2. I still had him at number 1. The guy wins over $20 million in a tournament. BK, he's out there trying to fight Justin Bieber. And he's number 2 in the power rankings. I've got a problem with this, just like I did Paul Pierce, but here we are, number 2, Remco.
It is exciting, though, because BRYN KENNEY might not have results for many more weeks to come. Who knows how motivated he still is now that he has number 1. He said that he's going to keep playing, but you never know how that really goes. How long might it take for him to slide out of the top 10?
Give him another, out of the top 10?
Yes.
No, come on, he'll be back. He's going to play British Poker Open. He's going to play Poker Masters. He's going to win like 6 or 7 of those events combined. I mean, he's going to win Super High Roller Bowl London. We already know it.
So we'll lock him in for the rest of the year.
He's in there. Yeah, BRYN KENNEY. He's not going anywhere. I mean, swag.
I mean, there's
this
only
guy just got it.
At this point, there's only one name missing, Brent, and I think it's obvious who's
Take it
gonna be
away,
number 1.
please.
I mean, it has to be Phil Hellmuth.
Phil Hellmuth, of course. The great one puts on a show on Poker After Dark. Then he goes out to Live at the Bike again, puts on a hell of a performance there. He does that meetup game. I mean, Phil Hellmuth just does it right. Out there in the Twitter streets, he's got Paul Pierce engaged with tweets back and forth. Phil Hellmuth, man, he is just king ambassador.
And he has the most friends of anyone. That's what he said.
No
right?
one has more friends than
no
Phil
one,
Hellmuth.
no one.
Yeah, no. In fact, he doesn't want any more friends. He's got enough.
He's capped.
Yeah, unless you're a billionaire.
Exactly.
He'll take you.
So me and Phil Hellmuth might never be friends, but and also he doesn't even follow me on Twitter, so I don't even know if he really even knows who I am. So Phil Hellmuth is arriving on the scene. We have exciting action coming up. If you are new to this podcast, please know that we are live every single week. Friday, a new episode comes out, and if you are a listener to the show, please know that this is on PokerGo. If you are a viewer of the show on PokerGo, please know that the favorite podcasting app that you are using on your phone has this very podcast. So if you are on the road, you can always listen to us as well. For Brent Hanks, I am Remco Rinkema, and this was the Poker Central Podcast.